All right, so how does this all come together? Well, ultimately, here's what happens. We put all sorts of stuff in our bodies, right? Anything that comes from a box, bag, can, the wrapper, you know, those protein bars that we think are so good for us. And we add to that sugar, flour. Can you imagine the average American consumes about 150 to 175 pounds of sugar a year? Back in the 60s, that was about 2 pounds per person per year. Crazy. So we got flour, and then we got things like coffee. Now, a cup of coffee here and there, not a big deal, but it's coffee over time that creates a bigger issue. So where does all this stuff go? Well, it goes into us. And here's ultimately what happens. And in fact, Dr. Oz did a whole show on what I'm about to teach you guys. I was doing it first, though, so I don't know where he got it from. So here's what happens. We've got your digestive system. And if you understand what I'll teach you in the next few minutes, it's life-changing stuff. So all this stuff ends up going into our system. And what it does is it affects the stomach in a certain way. It ends up decreasing the amount of acid your stomach makes. Now that's really, really important, because why does your stomach make acid in the first place? Well, it makes acid to do what? Digest your food, right? So there's a pH scale. I'm not going to get too into this whole thing, but just know that 7's neutral, 1 would be very acidic. If you go this way, 14 is very basic. So your stomach should be right around here, really acidic. These types of foods, and if you do a little gut check, most of us are doing what? We're eating this stuff, right? Let's say you stop at Subway, or you're eating bread, or what else you got? I mean, anything that's processed in any shape, way, or form has this effect. So what this does is it decreases, again, the acid your stomach makes. Now, why is that a problem? Well, I put the food in. If I have less acid, what happens to your body's ability to digest the food? Well, it definitely decreases, right? So as it decreases, we've got a problem. Now, here's what happens. Down in here, these are all your gut, your intestines. We hear a lot about gut health these days. You have hundreds of trillions of healthy bacteria. And these bacteria come from what? Well, they got there originally from being breastfed. But these bacteria have a very important job. What do? Well, one thing they do is they digest food. Another thing they do is they make B vitamins. What do B vitamins give us? Anybody remember? Yeah, exactly. Energy. So this gut should have an environment conducive to growing these little bacteria, which means it should be somewhat acidic. So here's what happens. The food goes in, the stomach tries to digest it. It doesn't produce enough acid, so it can't digest it the way it should, so what ends up happening? Well, 3 hours later or so, the stomach says, okay, I'm going to contract. I've got to get this food down and out. But there's a valve right here. And this valve's pretty smart. It goes, this stuff isn't digested properly. And since this is such a delicate environment that I want to protect, what does your stomach do? Well, the valve says, you're not going this way, so the valve snaps shut. Now, can the food go this way? Well, we certainly don't want it to. So this valve snaps shut also. So now we got 2 valves, both snapping shut. So what do you suppose happens when your stomach contracts and the food can't go in either direction? How does that feel? Exactly. You ever have indigestion? You're like, ooh, man, that bothered me. I don't know what I just ate, but it's not working. Now here's what's amazing. This food will actually go where first? Back up the other way. And what do we call that? Acid reflux, right. Now, is there any shortage of medications out there for acid reflux these days? Oh my gosh, no, right? So that's okay. So we got acid reflux. We can take some kind of acid reflux medicine. But here's the thing. Does anybody have too much acid? No, what you have is what? Acid in the wrong place. And that's the problem. So we take antacids and we make less acid in the stomach, which makes what I'm about to explain to you even worse. So here's what happens. Food travels down. It's not properly digested. The bacteria slowly what? Well, the good healthy ones, if you ever got them in the first place, because many of us weren't breastfed, start to do what? They start to die off. So the healthy bacteria, normally let's say you got this much healthy bacteria, and this much bad bacteria and yeast, little tiny bit. But as I start chipping away at this, and these good healthy bacteria start to die, what happens? Well, the bad guys start to grow. Some of you have heard the term candida, right? Well, yeast start to grow in the system. Now, why is that a problem? Well, remember, the healthy bacteria did what? They digested food, and that's critical. A lot of the food that you're digesting all happens here. They also make B vitamins. You know what? These bacteria do a lot of other things. They also decrease blood pressure. They alkalize the body. You can't even lose weight if your system's not alkaline, right? You've all heard that. Too much acidity is bad. They lower cholesterol. They detox the body. So to say they are critical is an understatement.